Income InSight was designed to help you visually answer your client's biggest questions about retirement and to help you quantify the value that you are delivering by virtue of making different plan suggestions, different ways of harvesting assets, different ways of using assets to produce an efficient retirement. And what you see on this screen is the results of an Income InSight analysis. We start off at the top with three basic metrics: portfolio longevity, income floor, and estate value, and then a variety of stress tests. Now, ultimately, our clients want their money to last through retirement. That's what portfolio longevity is about. But if it doesn't, obviously a client who has 95% of their income need met by pensions or other guaranteed income sources is in a very different position than someone who has 20% of their income need met by guaranteed income sources. And finally, if their money does last, they care about how much after tax is left over to the people and causes they care about. And that's what you see under estate value. But these metrics aren't only important if everything goes okay, if we experience a normal economic future. The fact is, most clients can't relate to Monte Carlo type simulations because a 90% certainty of being able to make it through retirement does nothing to describe the consequences of what happens if their portfolio doesn't make it through retirement. Instead, people are much better able to relate to what happens if they experience a specific event. And so the stress tests in Income InSight are designed to do just that. The down market stress test we noticed in this case is red. And why is it red? It's red because in that case, the portfolio does not last throughout retirement. They make it 27 years. And at that point, only 36% of their income need is coming into the household. And of course, they don't leave any money behind to the people or causes they care about. So this is definitely an area of concern for these particular clients. And what I noticed down below is I have four primary charts: account balances, does my money last; income by source, which account does the money come from at which points in retirement; income by result, how much of it can I spend versus how much is lost to federal income taxes or insurance premiums or other like debt payments; and finally, each year's tax map. Because tax efficiency throughout retirement is really all about making great decisions about which accounts you're going to use at which points in retirement. And if you've used Tax Clarity before, you know that it's a great way to visually illustrate whether or not there are opportunities. For example, in the base case here, I see that there's a huge opportunity to take money from an IRA without paying any federal income tax. That's the gap that I'm seeing here. Now, once we've diagnosed the client's current situation, we have the ability to implement a variety of techniques through the plan that will allow us to put that client's retirement on a more sound footing. Now, our base case assumes that the client is going to do what most people do, which is take Social Security as soon as possible, use non-qualified money for as long as possible until either they're forced to start taking IRA money because they have required minimum distributions, or they run out of non-qualified money, which again requires them to use the IRA money. So in our plan, one of the most common things advisors are doing right now is changing the harvesting pattern, implementing a Social Security strategy, and alongside it, either harvesting from IRAs to bridge the gap or doing some Roth conversions. I'm going to demonstrate the Roth conversions to lifetime effective rate. This is one unique element of Income InSight. And what we see is by implementing a different harvesting pattern, we're actually able to meet that need for portfolio longevity. We're able to meet their entire lifetime income need and even leave a bit left over. Now, that's a present value. That's today's dollars of what the eventual estate value would be. So if I hover over the Roth in 2050, it's actually worth $73,000 and change. I can compare our base case against our plan case. And you see I've got this stress test highlighted because this is really the challenge the client was facing that I wanted to solve for. And so I can see side by side account balances running out of money. I can see the Roth conversions and the Roth account growing, and the client not running out of money in the plan case. I can see the income by result. In the base case, they're running out of money and I see the gap. In the plan case, they're not. And I can see which accounts they're harvesting from at which points in retirement. Now, finally, I can check to validate that the strategy that I've chosen in terms of tax efficiency has actually put us where we want to be on the tax maps. And in this case, I can see we've harvested considerably more right up to the edge where we would begin paying some federal income tax. Now, I may also want to implement some additional plan techniques. One of the most common, of course, is reallocating a client's portfolio in order to be more aligned with when they'll use those assets in retirement. So, for example, I know that I am going to use the non-qualified account early on in retirement to pay taxes from Roth conversions and also to live off of in the meantime. So I might reallocate by account, and I'll start with the non-qualified account. We'll just take that down to conservative. But I also know that I'm going to use Jane's account last in retirement, so it might make sense to make that a more aggressive portfolio. Now, of course, you do have the ability to build in your own firm's portfolios behind the scenes, so those would be the portfolios you would be choosing from in the plan selection. So now when I update in plan, each of our scenarios will rerun, and what I'll likely notice, there it is. You notice my estate value is now considerably greater under the plan case. So in that way, advisors will add multiple techniques in order to deliver an overall retirement income plan that puts the client on a solid foundation. If I click the executive summary, I'll see what suggested plan changes I'm now using in the plan, along with the narrative that explains those to the client. Now, this demo has been entirely focused on Income InSight. Most growth-oriented advisors who work with us use Social Security timing, smart risk, tax clarity, or all three as a client acquisition mechanism, effectively focusing in on the things that are most important to a particular client, their one question, and using that one question to draw them into a broader retirement income planning process. Because ultimately, that is what benefits them. It's also the most difficult for most clients to bite off at once. In other words, if I go out and I communicate all about the benefits and the value of financial planning, it's much harder for a client to say to themselves, yes, that solves my problem today, because you don't know. Ultimately, when you talk about a singular decision like when to take Social Security, or how to reduce taxes in retirement, or how to gauge portfolio risk, you have a narrow enough focus to be able to deliver value for one question, but you also have a big enough challenge that when you do that, there are inevitably trade-offs in the rest of the plan. And when we can get clients thinking about the big picture plan, then we will have opened the opportunity, number one, to improve their lives in a variety of other ways, and number two, to make a client for life.